Why do you define death this way? That it's sort of, you're saying death is, at the moment of cardiac arrest, basically, but yet people can come back. Whereas I think the lay understanding of death is really when it's over. Whether it's
Yep.
everything has died, there's no chance of coming back. Why not place death at that point?
So I think this is, one of the things I tried for years to understand quantum physics, and I never could. It was too complicated. I gave up. But this is a little bit similar, I think, for a lot of people, because we say things that sound contradictory. To me, they're not, but they sound contradictory. I'm going to try to explain why they're not contradictory. We had a case maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, something like that. I was working in the ICU in the intensive care unit, and there was a cardiac arrest. So I went there, and the nurses started doing CPR, and we were saving this person. 5 minutes or so, we were doing this. And then suddenly somebody came in the room and said, oh, this person did not want to be resuscitated. He actually had cancer, and it made sense. He was elderly, and it made sense. But we just the nurses didn't know his wishes, so we started. And so, honoring his wishes, we stopped CPR. And his heart obviously had stopped. He wasn't breathing. His brain wasn't functioning, which is the criteria we use to declare somebody dead. So I declared him dead. And then we have a huddle, usually after these events, where we discuss what we did right, what we did wrong. We discuss things. So we talked, and the nurses discussed, and the doctors, and so on. And then I was just curious. I said, well, so he's dead, right? And they said, yeah, of course he's dead. I said, well, so it's like 9:25, right? Yeah. So I said, well, if we put him now on a gurney and you're going to take him to the mortuary, is it possible to bring him back to life again? And they said, of course not. He's dead. I said, well, but what if his family just called and said, oh, actually, I made a mistake. We think we should try. And they were like, well, why? They were really flabbergasted by this. So the point I wanted to make to you is that, yes, clearly that person could have been resuscitated if we really wanted to. And the issue here is that he was permanently dead because we stopped trying. So his death was irreversible and permanent. But nonetheless, as he was being wheeled away to the mortuary, the potential to bring him back to life existed. We didn't do it because in this case, he didn't want it. In another circumstance, it could be because the medical knowledge or technology isn't available. If my heart were to stop in the Sahara and somebody tries to save me, there's only so much they can do. If my heart stops in my intensive care unit, then there's a lot more that can be done. So there is also a disparity in medical care knowledge. It's not like everyone has access to everything, as you appreciate. Then the other reality is that many of the things needed to do what I'm talking about may not have been discovered yet, because again, people thought there's no point going beyond the end, like it makes no sense, which was how you were addressing the beginning of this conversation. And so for those reasons, people think that way. But the reality is then that you are dead and you're permanently dead. But when you first die, you remain permanently dead, yet you can come back. And if you don't come back, it's because either medical methods are not being applied to you, or they haven't been known or developed or advanced, and so on and so forth. But at some point later, much, 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 much later, your body will degrade, but it hasn't degraded initially. And when it degrades, no matter what we do today, tomorrow, or in 1,000 years' time, we can't bring people back. So to address another question, people ask me, we can't conquer death, even though they ended up calling my book Erasing Death. We can't quite erase it. We can sort of hold it a little bit. But that's the key thing to understand about that.